All right, so we're starting off with Thomas Jefferson. A lot of people, in terms of chronologically, like to put the dates down on their paper. The date for this one is going to be 1800. So you are starting this paper in the year 1800. Okay? This time period goes from 1800 to 1848, if you want an overall of period 4. But we're going to begin in the year 1800 with the election of Thomas Jefferson. Now, who is Thomas Jefferson's biggest rival? Alexander Hamilton, right? They hated each other. And what political party is Hamilton a part of? Federalist, which makes Jefferson a Democratic Republican, which is on your first line. Please highlight Democratic Republican so that you remember who he is. Now remember, Democratic Republicans are very, very small, right? States' rights, not national rights. Individual rights. It's going to be the South, okay? Which makes sense because he was a slave owner. Now, with Thomas Jefferson, he is also on your $2 bill. By the way, if you ever get a $2 bill, put it in your safe and wait 70 years because one day it'll be worth a lot of money. Mostly because they only made these for 5 years. And so they are like a limited edition bill. Yes?
Do you think they appreciate at a pace that is greater than or equal to or less than inflation?
In theory, it would be greater than.
Okay.
Because it was only made for 5 years and they have a limited amount, the coin worth is going to increase. In theory, it could go all the way up to what some of them, they had a limited edition coin in the 20s that was worth back then the equivalent of 50 cents. And now, if you have one, it's worth almost $4,000. So in theory, we would hope that it would appreciate like that. But a lot of people don't like the $2 bill, but you can use it as legal tender, even though the vending machines won't take it. You can use it as legal tender. Also on the other side, remember, what document did Thomas Jefferson write?
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence, which is why on the opposite side of the $2 bill, they have a picture of the Declaration being signed in honor of Thomas Jefferson. Now, if you've ever seen Hamilton, you're going to realize that today we're going to relate a lot of things to Hamilton because Jefferson and Hamilton are talked about a lot in this different thing. So let's talk about a little bit about Jefferson. Now, in terms of Jefferson, he is going to reduce the federal power. If you will write in this section next to Thomas Jefferson of what he did, he's going to reduce the federal power. That's Thomas Jefferson. And this makes sense. He's a Democratic Republican. He wants to make sure that the big government does not have a lot of power, small state governments. One example of how he's going to do this is he is going to cut the army in half. Now, this is going to unemploy about 35,000 people at this time in the United States, but it's going to massively reduce costs. So, on your fourth bullet where it says cut the army, just know that that is an example of, I would just write next to it, reduction. He's reducing the federal power by cutting the U.S. Army. Now, the reality is there ever a true Republican or Democratic president? No. No president can do that because they have to compromise. If they didn't, nothing would ever get done. Ask Andrew Johnson. That's why he didn't pass any laws. So instead, you have to compromise. So he's going to do that by becoming somewhat Hamiltonian. Now, for example, this is going to be done with what is known as a tariff. Now, I'm going to explain what a tariff is to the best of my ability, okay? Now, can somebody raise their hand, give me an example of a product you would buy?
Steel.
Steel, okay. All right, we're going fancy here. Normally I get like bubble gum or Xbox, but sure, we'll go with steel. So we're going to pretend that we have steel that's made in England as well as in the United States. Now, this product of steel, we're going to say after everything, 1 pound of steel is $10. Now, that's probably inaccurate, but I don't know a lot about steel, okay? So we're going to say it's going to be $10 for this pound of steel. Now, in England and the United States, it costs the same exact amount of money to create. Same labor costs, same factory costs, $10 each way. Now, in the United States, we would purchase that item, let's say for $15, so they make a $5 profit. However, if we purchase it from England, it's going to be $20. And you might say, well, why is it more expensive to buy from England than the United States? That's what this tariff is for. Basically, and if you want to write down, because you'll want to know what a tariff is from now on, because we'll use that word a lot. know that a tariff, and if you want to write this next to the alligator, know that a tariff is a tax on imported goods, and then put next to that in quotation marks, buy America. Now here's what this goal is. In theory, if they add a tax, you wouldn't want to buy the British item because I can buy American for cheaper. A great example of this is with avocados. Now you guys might have seen a commercial for avocados and it has like a cute little catchphrase. Where are those avocados from? Does anybody know what the slogan is? Yeah, it's avocados from Mexico. You guys have never seen those?
Nope.
It's because you guys skip them in DVR, right? Because you skip all the commercials. Okay, well you can go look up the avocados from Mexico commercials. But you might say, why on earth are they advertising for avocados? If I'm going to use an avocado, I don't need an advertisement to tell me to go buy an avocado. They're not advertising for avocados. They're advertising because you can buy from Mexico. The reason why is because with the tariffs, California avocados cost maybe about 40 cents each. If you buy an avocado at the store and it happens to come from Mexico, you might not notice, but that item is almost 20 cents more than a California avocado. And it's because of this tariff. The whole goal is to basically buy America. They want you to stay in America, which is why products of similar production costs, like an avocado, you can't just massively reduce the cost of an avocado to produce. Now, this has changed a little bit because of China. China and a lot of Asian countries, it's a lot cheaper to produce things, and because of that, they've now made it so that this cheap production lowers the cost of the items. It used to be that Ford, for example, was everybody's truck, but now it's switched to like Toyotas because it's cheaper coming from another country. Now, in terms of like current events of relating this to now, Donald Trump, about 2 weeks ago, instituted a $200 billion tariff against China. What that means is that each year, China will have to pay this $200 billion in taxes to the United States to import their items. Now, the biggest one that this impacts us in America is going to be on rice and soybeans. And if you say, oh, I don't need any of those products, soybeans are in almost everything that you eat, which is why if you're allergic to soy, it's so difficult for you to find food. On the other hand, rice, do people use rice? A lot in the United States. You might not have noticed, but your local food stores, as well as your restaurants, have already raised the prices because of this tariff, because they have to spend more money to get it. So I went to Chili's the other day. All the prices were almost 75 cents more than normal because they have to help pay these tariffs because it costs more to import the item. Does that make sense? Do you kind of understand the tariff? Yes.
Why did he do it?
Why did he do that? Because the goal is we buy American. So rather than going and buying items from another country, in theory, we'll grow our own crops here in the United States as well as our own products where we won't have to go to another country to bring them in. It's basically attempting to stop globalization and protect American products.
Is it working?
I mean, it's only been 2 weeks. I will say that it has massively increased costs from China, but if we have producers in America that can produce it for cheaper, then we would start buying more American. Problem is rice and soybeans can't grow in the United States. So that's why it's really impacting us here, is because of that. Hey, by the way, you're paying attention, right? Okay, because I can tell that you're doing something for drama. Okay. All right, anyways, continuing on. Also, another thing that they did to expand the federal government is he did create the post office. So if you've ever received a letter or next time you receive a letter, hug it close to you and say, thanks, Thomas Jefferson, because it was thanks to Thomas Jefferson that we have the post office. Yay. So on those last two, or where it says keep the tariff, and I did tariff because that's the most popular one that they'll talk about. Right next to that, expand, or even if you just put expand, or expand the federal power. Are we coming down?
Yeah, we need one class.
Well, only juniors.
Only the juniors, I guess. That's what they said, 300 class.
Yeah, we'll come in just a sec.
Cool.
Put expand, and then you can also put next to that compromise. Because basically they're compromising to make sure they get both sides. Okay? So we are going to take a 10-ish minute break. Quickly go down. Once you're finished, they'll ask you to come back. Try to come back as quickly as possible. If you are not a junior, you're going to have free time. But if you are a junior, we'll see you in a little bit. If you already tested